Welcome to the mix fix. Finally, it took me some time to make this one because it's actually a quite difficult track, but I'm very proud at it and I hope that you guys like this video. It's a bit longer than you normally expect from me, but that's because it's a long and difficult track. The track we are working on right now is made by Deeper Than Ether. They also have a YouTube channel which I will post below. The track is called Just Married and it was sent to me by one of my viewers and also one of my patrons, by the way, Unfa, if I pronounce everything correctly. So with that said, let's get started with the video. And as always, I first want to listen to the dry mix. So this is how the track sounds to give you an overall idea of the track. Just completely dry with all faders set to 0. And as you might have noticed, well, I did, the track consists of roughly 4 sections. So the first section is the intro with the vocal. And then there's a major switch to the female vocal part with the guitars, which is section 2. I'm just calling it section 2 right now. Then we have section 3, which is the connecting section between the instrumental part and the vocal part. And section 4 is the solo part, where all the instruments will get their own chance to play their solo. So that's how I see the track. And where I want to start with mixing is not at the intro, but at the second section, so at the part where the female vocal comes in. I am muting everything and I'm starting with the kick, snare and hi-hat. I'm not going into depth on these settings because they are pretty straightforward, so I'm just showing you the separated sounds and soloing them one by one. One thing you will notice is that the snare has got a lot of reverb on it. That reverb isn't from me, that was already on the track. I always ask my clients to send me the stems just as they made them. If there's reverb on it, just keep it turned on, because most of the time it will work out fine. This is also a case where it did work out fine, because what you will hear in the end is that the verb is perfectly balanced. However, right now it really sounds like it's too much, but you gotta get through that. Let's run through the kick, snare and hi-hat. Alright, so now it's time to get cracking and start with the bass line and the guitars. So the guitars are pretty thick and pretty in your face, and that's what I need to get out of them. But the bass guitar also has an important role. They are both playing the same chord, so they need to glue together. They need to stick together in order to make each other fatter. That's actually what I'm going to do in the next part. This is always a bit of a game to get this one right. So we're doing the vocals in the end, because that's how I work. So let's move on to section 3, which is the connecting part with the whole verby vocals on it, and which will connect us to the instrumental part. And let's start with the bass line over there, because actually the bass line is taking over the role from those heavy guitars from section 2. And now let's also do the synthesizer line, and we need to keep in mind that the bass line is having the lead role, and that the synthesizer actually needs to be tucked away in the mix a bit. So we need to EQ it different than we might expect from a synthesizer. And now is the big task to connect section 2, so what we did in the beginning of the video, to section 3, which we just did. And the biggest part of that is balancing. So I'm showing you right now how I'm balancing this. What you have to keep in mind is that I'm listening on the... You cannot... No, you can't see them. What you have to keep in mind is that I'm listening on the even tones, so my small speakers, because that is where I can hear the balance the best. And I've also set the loop between halfway of section 2 and halfway of section 3, so I can hear if everything connects correctly. Let's go! And now it's time for the intro, which is also an amazing piece of music, but we need to keep in mind that this is the intro. So if we make the intro too heavy, give it too much energy, the rest of the track will lack it. We need to have some contrast between it. So what I'm doing actually is taking a bit of energy away from the intro. So we have contrast going to section 2. I know this is a bit difficult to understand, but let me show this on the bass line first. I know this is a bit difficult to understand, but let's first show it to you on the bass line. There are also 2 solo guitars on the intro. One is panned 45 degrees to the left and the other one is panned 45 degrees to the right. And what I'm doing here, just look very carefully at my EQing settings, because I'm messing a bit with our brains. I'm boosting a lot of things on the other side of the guitar. This is one of my tricks to really mess with our brains. I know it's difficult to understand, but you will understand it in this part of the mixing process video. Next up is the instrumental section, section 4 as I call it. This consists of 3 instruments. We have 2 guitars and a bass line. The bass line plays its own solo and then the 2 guitars come in to mess with us. The guitar part is very difficult because we have 2 roughly the same sounding electric guitars stacked on top of each other. So what I'm doing is I'm first EQing the solo guitar. So the most important layer, I think is the most important layer. Taking that one on top. What you will see me doing then is doing the reverse setting on the other EQ, on the other guitar. Which is a actually pretty simple trick if you want to blend something together. Just do the opposite to the other thing. Doesn't work always use your ears, but in this case it works perfect. Alright, so let's move on to the vocals. So what I did for the vocals is request the dry stems from unfa. I did this because I wanted to work on the reverb. There was really a lot of reverb on the vocals, and I really wanted to work on not only the reverb, but I also wanted to melodyne them. You will see a time lapse of me melodyning it over here. In the meantime, I will explain why I'm melodyning it, because the vocals were already pretty good. It turns out that if you melodyne vocals and do it correctly, and will have them pitched perfect, they are much easier to mix. They will blend in much easier into the track. It's almost like magic. So I always prefer to melodyne vocals for the mix, because the mix will be much better in the end. It will just sound better. I don't know why. And now that we've melodyned it, it's time to run it through the console, and of course through the stem audio SA76 for the compression. Let's make something awesome of it. So we are first starting with the male vocal.
I've been waiting for this day for all my life. I knew that it will come, that I'll find my love, my wife. Oh, and you are the one. I've been waiting for this day for all my life. I knew that it will come, that I'll find my love, my wife.
Female, and now we're adding the female vocal to it. It's actually not really rocket science. Really, it isn't.
I'll never forget how it was hard to live this life without you, and now I'm finally complete. I'm not just a loose end of a string, 'cause you were the one.
Alright, and now I'm showing you a bit of the last part, which is always the tinkering in the DAW part, with which I can go on forever and ever and ever. It's a lot of writing automation, it's a lot of balancing, it's a lot of checking things. I'm just showing you a part of it, because if you want to see the whole part, the video will be 10 hours long or something, because I can really keep going with this. So yeah, the DAW part.
You're the one string, 'cause you are the one string, 'cause you are the one string, 'cause you
then I'll find my love, my wife. Oh, and you are the
I'll never forget how it was hard to live this life without you, and now I'm finally complete. I'm not just a loose end of a string, 'cause you are the
And that's actually it. So let's listen to the completed track, shall we?
I've been waiting for this day for all my life. I know that it will come, that I'll find my love, my wife. Oh, and you are the one.
Alright, and with that being said, I wanna thank Unfa a lot for sending me this track. Again, I will link their channels below, his channel, their channels, I don't know, below in the description, so check it out there. This video took a lot of time and I simply cannot afford this time always, so that's why I'm running a Patreon campaign in order to well, get more time to, yeah, it's explained in the Patreon campaign. Also, if you're here, I also have more videos, so maybe check those one out as well. Thanks a lot for watching this episode of the Mix Fix, and I'm very happy that you made it till the end. I will see you guys again in the next video. Bye bye.